best ever will be. And you know it.
With a tear in my eye.
The cream of the crop. Acknowledge me.
Well, hello. It is episode 329 of Top Rope Nation. I am your host for today, Jesse Velasquez. Unfortunately, Ryan Drosty and Justin Joint are both gone. Ryan had a lot of family stuff going on over the weekend. Happy birthday, Megan Drosty. I met with Justin Joint last night for about an hour and some change here locally. He was in my neck of the woods. We were in Chanhassen, Minnesota. He was having a few beers and our sons met. We do have a photo. We'll probably post that later on in the week. So I get to dust off my hosting skills here on the YouTube channel. It looks like we're going to have a very lively crew here. I'm going to introduce my two guests for today. One that TR and listeners are very familiar with, and another you might not be familiar with, but you will be when it's over. First things first. Let's bring back patron of the show, Ryan Huffman. How are you, good sir?
Doing good. Happy to be here. Was happy with the show last night, and excited to be on here to talk about it with you guys.
I mean, there was a lot going on last night, which we're definitely going to dive into here in a moment. Let's hit up our final guest for today. Blue Wire Hustle alumnus. We got next. How's Jacob DeLawrence today?
Oh, I'm good. It's just funny hearing Blue Wire Hustle alum. It's as if we graduated and didn't get kicked out the door without warning. No, I'm good, and thank you for having me on, and also Ryan and Justin. I'm sure you guys will watch this. Thank you for letting me grace your platform while you're not here. I promise I won't destroy the place.
I have complete faith in you. I mean, there's a reason why I invited you on this show proper. Oh my gosh. So real quick for our listeners out there, I missed Thursday's episode. In a sense, I'm kind of thankful that I did, and in a sense that I'm not. It's been a very, very crazy week in my world. I moved on Monday, and my internet did not arrive until Friday morning. So the boys got to carry a very glorious show involving Vince McMahon, as well as a very, very brief Royal Rumble preview. And if you have not listened to that episode, go back. I truly believe that Ryan and Justin did a tremendous job on the show. And Ryan got a little bit feisty. Would you agree there, Mr. Huffman?
Yeah, just, they did a really good job covering a topic that's, pretty sensitive topic at the time. And commenters out there, they, I don't know, people need to read into actually what happened and make probably some better cases for it. But yeah, Ryan and Justin did a great job of just covering that.
No, they 100% did. Again, episode 328, go back into the archives and listen or watch wherever you find the platform. Today, we are primarily going to cover the last night's 2024 Royal Rumble. We might let the chat dictate where we go on said show for today. First things first, fellas. So, Jacob, I'm going to let you start this. We usually give grades on this show, A through F. It's kind of a snapshot. You've had about 12 hours to sit on this. Give me your grade, A through F, pluses and minuses count.
I just finished watching the men's Rumble match because I watched it last night, but was like half sleep watching. I was like, let me finish it, make sure I remember what I saw. Honestly, for a 4-match card, it gets about a C+. Like, it's middle of the road. I'm not one of those that was expecting a lot, but we could have done a couple things different. Overall, yeah, it gets a C+. Like, it's not abysmal. And I feel like some of the Vince stuff maybe probably threw a wrench into the plans of a couple things. So I'll give it a C+. It was good. It was passing. It's probably the worst Triple H ran pay-per-view so far. But if that's the worst, then, hey, we are doing much better than what we used to be doing.
Like those thoughts. Ryan Huffman.
I'll agree with Kyle Ryan in the chat there. I would say B show. I was entertained. I would say my excitement level going into the show was pretty high. Aside from probably WrestleMania, Royal Rumble is probably my favorite event of the year. A lot of intrigue. I was pretty interested to see who they would come up with, considering how many guys weren't available to be in the men's Rumble. But I would say B. I would say nothing blew me away, but I didn't think anything was like bad. Middle two matches I thought were a little bit slow, which we'll talk about. But I don't know. I liked it. But I don't know if I would sit down and rewatch anything from the show.
Which is kind of a key point that the three of us hosts really like to plant home if you follow this show. Is there something you really want to go back and watch that usually elevates the grade to at least a B plus, if not a little bit higher? I just rewatched the Women's Rumble this morning. I missed that live last night, and that actually drove my grade up. I'm going B minus. I was very, very close. I was right on that C plus range, C-ish, very similar to what Jacob just mentioned here. So I just felt that overall I enjoyed both Rumbles, which we're going to get into in a moment, and then the middle, which this being a 4-match card. I'll go to your thoughts on that, Jacob. What did you think of the 4-match card before I hit the share screen for the YouTube or the Twitter poll?
It's a Triple H pay-per-view. Like, gone are these 7, 8, 9, 10 matches that only get 5-10 minutes. Usually, because he does everything like the takeovers, like 5 matches, everything has a purpose. The 4 matches bothered me. I felt like you could have thrown maybe the Kabuki Warriors versus Katana and Kaden on here, but they were both in the Women's Rumble, so I see why you didn't do that. Same with the IC title match. That's going to be on Monday with Gunther and Kofi. Same for the tag title match. So it's like, what else did you have that you could have made a 5th match that would have made sense? So from that standpoint, I was okay with it, but also it's like you couldn't find one more match of storyline consequence to put there.
What do you think, Ryan Huffman?
Yeah, I felt about maybe 1 match short. I'd agree there. The Fatal 4-Way, which we'll talk about, just if you would have shortened up some of those entrances to the ring, I think you'd probably even have more time for a match there. Just between those 4 guys coming out, that felt like 10 minutes. So, but yeah, I'd say 4 was okay. I would have probably tried to put on either a tag match or have one of the women's title matches.
I think the women's title match would have been the way to go. Probably Rhea Ripley defending. That's for sure. So 100% agree there. I'm going to hit the share screen here right now in about 10 seconds. Spare me here. All right. Our listeners, after 280 votes, left us with 16.4% giving us an A, 39.3% in the B range, 29% in the C, and then 15.4% in the D or F range. What do you think of those grades before we move into the men's Rumble first?
I'll be honest, I'm kind of surprised. Like, I listen to Top Rope Nation every week. I listen to Justin, Ryan, and yourself. I've even texted you about this. This is normally not a WWE friendly podcast in terms of grading, and it's understandable given the product and preferred method of wrestling that they like. And to see the YouTube audience kind of grade higher than what I graded, and I've told you this before, Jesse, I think I'm the more, I don't want to say WWE apologist, more the base, the level of like, hey, I'm going to go watch a Harlem Globetrotters basketball game. I know what I'm getting versus watching a NBA game, comparing WWE to AEW. So I'm a little surprised that it's getting like a B, and honestly that many people gave it an A, and I don't even know if that's trolling or not.
Huffman, you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't know if, like, just in the past, I don't know how previous Rumbles were graded, but I always think the Rumble's probably always going to grade a little higher than any other PLE other than, a WrestleMania or SummerSlam.
Yeah, I actually think if we're going to compare it to last year's, I enjoyed this more than I did last year's, and that was inspired. I felt that last year's was just it's a one trick pony. It was the bloodline. It was the end of the Roman Reigns Kevin Owens match where Sammy turned on Roman to one of the biggest pops I've ever heard in the history of the WWE. So, all right, real fast before we do hit this up, I do want us to give a shout out to our wonderful patron group here. And I got my microphone issues fixed. Shout out to all of our lovely patrons. You're going to see that on the bottom of the screen scrolling through. 7-day free trial. Please tell a friend, tell a phone, tell a neighbor, all of that good stuff. And we will be recording a classics on Tuesday night. We're going to be going over the 1991 Royal Rumble, where I have one very vivid memory of that. And I am truly excited to go over that. Jacob, do you have any familiarity on the spot? 1991 Royal Rumble.
I was 1.5, 2, so no. And I don't think I've gone back and watched that Rumble in forever. Is that the one? Is that the first one Hogan won?
Number 2, I believe.
Okay, so that was Hogan's second one. Yeah, that's about all I remember from that Rumble.
Yeah. Huffman, any memories?
Unfortunately, no. I think I was like 4 at the time, and I really didn't get into wrestling too much until like new generation stuff. So I've gone back, rewatched it. This is obviously a really solid show.
Yeah. Again, I actually don't have much memories of the Rumble. I have a memory of one of the undercard matches. That's where my memory stems from. So y'all have to tune in for that. All right, guys. 2024 Men's Royal Rumble. I have a lot of advanced statistics, but we're just going to hit this proper. First things first, before we go, Ryan, I want to start with you on this. Cody Rhodes does end up prevailing for the second year in a row, joining a very prestigious list. Do you feel he was the right choice?
I do. I think it was. Throughout the week, you read a lot of stuff online, and I was thinking it was either going to be Cody or it was going to be Punk. I'm a Punk fan, so I was kind of hoping they'd go that direction. Even though I think Cody's probably the right move. The Gunther name was floated out there. Gunther, sorry, was floated out there, and I thought that would have been intriguing. Just everything with back in my head, I was like, will The Rock come out as number 30? And I don't know. I think it's probably the right move. I think last year, I thought last year they should have had Cody go over Roman to begin with, but we'll see what happens. I think we're going to get a Rocky 2 story here in Philadelphia.
Didn't even think about that one. Jacob?
Yeah, I felt like the right person won. Going into this week, you honestly had maybe 4, 5 legit people that you thought could have won it. You could have had Cody. You had Punk. Those were the obvious ones. Gunther was another one. Sami Zayn, quiet as kept, had a very strong case that he could have won it. And then there's Drew Mack. And I honestly, and of course, there's the elephant in the room known as Rocky Maivia. I think there's no way they could have pulled the Rock trigger. Like, you could not let Rock come in anywhere from 25 to 30. Just no. No. You want to repeat the Philly Rumble? That's what you would have got. So, yeah, I think Cody was the right person winning it. The only other person that could have won it that I didn't mention that I would have been okay with is Damian Priest.
That would have been an interesting one. Elaborate a little bit further.
So Damian Priest has the Money in the Bank, right? Money in the Bank gives you 365 days. He won Money in the Bank in July in London. Why not? You've never done this before. Why not let the Money in the Bank holder win the Rumble, go to WrestleMania, try to beat Seth, see what happens with that. If you lose the Mania match to Seth, just jump Seth with Judgment Day, cash in, and win. It's just something different because we don't know what Rock's going to do. So, and also, once you saw the result of the Fatal 4-Way, you kind of knew it had to be 1 or 2 people. and really won. So why not just throw a curveball? Why not? Because all the reports were like, oh, this Rumble's going to end wild and crazy. It's going to be a shocker. Let's go shock the world then.
I think one of these years that would be a great call to pull right on that. It has to be the right person. I don't necessarily know if Damian Priest was the right person, but I do like your logic on that.
I don't think he is, but yeah. Just try it.
No, I agree. I got swerved. Not Strickland, Top Swerve Nation here. I got swerved there on Monday when I was watching the promos and then seeing that Seth is going to be out for about 3 months, as Carl mentioned in the chat, that his Mania status could be in question. He's a very quick healer. We've seen it before with his match at Triple H, I believe at 33, where he came off of that injury, arrived in NXT, and challenged Triple H to a match at Mania. So The Rock also is the giant elephant in the room. There's been rumblings, and now he's a part of the TKO board. So is he going to challenge Roman and become the tribal chief of the WWE from a storyline perspective? Gunther makes his appearance here in a Raw promo saying that I am going to come after your title now, Seth. And that immediately implanted in my head. Last night I had Punk as 1A. I had Cody as 1B. Gunther as 1C. So it was Cody before all of this happened, but there were a lot of optics that threw me off. And this was one of the best builds to a men's rumble I've seen in a long time. Ryan, would you agree?
Yeah, there's a lot of intrigue. I was my big thing going into it was I was like, who do they not have available? And you knew like no Brock, and then you take the 3 guys that were in the 4-way. So I mean, I think you hit it right there. The little part of me was just like, is Hogan gonna come out here just with all the teases here the last week? Which I'm kind of glad they didn't go that direction, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I could see the Mania. I could see this being about Cody trying to finish the story, but WrestleMania 20, they went with a triple threat, and that might be a way to protect Dwayne as well from his cardio.
Yeah, for sure. Jacob?
Oh God, I honestly have that in the back of my mind of this might mess around and be a triple threat with Rocky, but I think they're going to take the Rock Cena approach and just build this a year out, which leads me to wonder, do you get the belt off of Roman? So there's that. But no, this has been one of the best builds to a Rumble in a while, and it didn't, like we said, there was Punk, there was Cody, there was Gunther. You could have argued Drew winning it. You could have argued Sammy. So no, this was a pretty solid build, and overall can't complain. Now the fun part is the road to Mania, and more importantly, I think the thing a lot of people are forgetting with Cody winning, Cody won, immediately pointed right at Roman. But here's the interesting part. The Chamber is in Australia next month.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a men's Chamber match. Now the question becomes, does it determine Seth's challenger, or does it determine a new world heavyweight champ? Because you say Seth could be ready for Mania, but now this gives you time to double check and make sure and see how that timeline is going. Because that timeline can easily become, hey, we set it up 6 men, number 1 contendership, and then boom, found out Seth is not progressing like we like, vacate the belt, make it for the belt. And then if Seth heals, make it a triple threat Mania. So yeah, everything worked out right.
Yeah, I mean, they could always pull the interim label, which we don't really necessarily want. I know, I'm completely with you on this, but in this case, it's a matter of you don't want to be left without a World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Back caveat. I'm going to start at the top because there were stories within stories throughout this entire Rumble. Jay and Jimmy coming out at 1-2. I really like that touch. Big time. And first time that they had seen each other face to face in a ring since SummerSlam. So that was super cool. I mean, I'm going to kind of skim through the notes here as we get in 1 to 10. It's nice to see Carmelo Hayes get some shine in there early on, getting the first elimination of the Rumble as he tosses Grayson Waller. You get a little bit of quietness, and then Dom Mysterio comes in at 9 and kicks things up. Have you, Jacob, I'll go to you. How have you liked the character of Dominic Mysterio over the last, we'll go 6 months?
Oh, the boy is on fire. The boy has been perfect ever since he turned at Clash at the Castle. Like, he came in, he was a Neo baby. He benefited from being raised child. You had all these matches with Seth and everybody coming up. We clearly didn't like him as a baby face. He just sat there and we are like, you need to improve. You should have went NXT. You turn him heel. You catch lightning in a bottle with Rhea and all these YouTube bits. I mean, I love the character. It hasn't grown old. Also, he manages to find some way to keep himself fresh. And right now, it's currently thanks to R-Truth calling him Tom and Nick. So, yeah.
Not to mention as well, Corey Graves comes with the line of, I hope Dom is allowed out of work release for WrestleMania. Good stuff there. Have you been a fan of the character, Ryan, Dom Mysterio?
Oh, he's been great. I wasn't to begin with, when he was tagging with his dad and working the whole baby face. I wasn't a fan. I actually was at WrestleMania Night 1 last year and got to see the entrance come out, and my brother and I were just like, thought it was so great. And he's just, like you said, he's on fire right now. If you're drawing that kind of heat every night, like, you're doing something right.
My favorite moment of Mania Night 1 last year was not only Dom's entrance, but Ray's.
Yeah.
That was both for equal reasons.
Yeah, great. That was a really good Night 1. I didn't go to Night 2, but I was very happy to be at Night 1. And when I watched Night 2, I was kind of not regretting being there because I wasn't super impressed with it. So
here's the thing, too. I felt that the middle of this Rumble kind of drug on, even when Cody came in at 15. There were points where guys were just lying around the ring, very similar to the women's, which we're going to discuss later. And another kind of trope is the moment the new person comes into the ring, they get about 20 to 30 seconds of offense and pop the crowd, and then we move on to whatever the heck else is going to be coming up next here. Let's move into the middle. And with Cody at 15, gets a little bit of a clearing here. Carmelo Hayes gets thrown at some point. Cody Rhodes comes in at 15, eliminates Austin Theory. We move into Gunther at 18. It was actually really nice to see that in terms of people at the beginning. I think Jey Uso was the one that lasted the longest here, and he really didn't overstay his welcome. So, I mean, I think it was cool to see that you could have people from different spots here in the Rumble make an impact. Jacob, did you kind of like the balance of that part at least?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And not to overlook this, but let's back it up to number 4, Andrade's return.
Yes, sir.
I feel like, and this is my thing, when you bring back somebody, you can't bring them back with new music. Because you brought Andrade back with new music, and it like took people a second. Like, they popped when they saw the Tron video, and then he comes out full black mask, full luchador, takes the mask off, and gets a clearly loud pop. And you're like, oh, okay, they remember Andrade. They still like Andrade. But yeah, like, you just can't come with the new music. But the middle of the Rumble was perfect. Bringing Cody in at 15, I felt like was the right spot, because if you bring him in later, it's like, are we really finna cheapen this again? Like, can we make him kind of earn it a little bit this year? Although he went, 15 minutes with Gunther in a one-on-one at the
Close
end?
to 10. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's kind of back it up. Let's make Cody earn it. And then Bronson Reed came in the middle as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like felt like great spot. Bronson had his moments. Braun Breaker came in right around
We're
that
going to be
point.
getting to that here momentarily. Yeah.
I feel like that middle of like 10 to 20 was like perfectly executed for everybody that came in from those spots.
Huffman, thoughts on Andrade's reemergence?
Yeah, I don't want to say I like predicted that, but I remember last night before the Rumble started, I messaged you and Ryan just as proof, because I didn't want to be like that guy who comes on the podcast like, oh, I knew that was coming, but where I was at watching, I was like, I think we get an Andrade appearance. I guessed on one of the women who came out and was right on that, but I don't know. It's good to see him. I went to a really good match at NXT Takeover in Orlando, and I thought Andrade had a lot of potential. Didn't quite live up to it in AEW. That's either side on that, but Yeah, I think it's good. Hopefully he can get some steam here going.
And he went out with a bang in the AEW Continental Classic. Tremendous singles performances. I know his match with Miro to end it at World's End was just there. It's kind of a weird, like, WWE AEW hybrid infusion where you almost saw bits of the Rusev Bobby Lashley angle. I mean, it was very toned down, but you could see kind of hints of that. Time to wash away the stink, and he needed to move on. So we definitely had that. Let's get into Braun Breaker. This is actually one I did want to tackle. Comes in at 20, and I do have the amount of eliminations here made by, or just who made the most eliminations. He ended up tied for the night with 4. Him and Cody both ended up with 4 eliminations. Gets to throw Jey Uso out right away. They mentioned his strength and his speed, how fast he hits the ropes. I never thought I'd ever hear that on a show, which was really intriguing to me. But you could see the explosiveness. Jacob, you're tied into NXT a little bit more than we are. I don't know about a lot anymore, but definitely a little.
Still
Have you felt like the last couple of months that they've really toned Braun back?
They fixed the Braun Breaker problem. Like from day 1 to 2.0, I was like, oh God, no. You can see it coming. Like they telegraphed it. Like he's gonna be the overly happy baby face. And it's like, okay, cool. He's a Steiner. You gave him a horrible name, whether he allegedly picked it or not, whatever. And then it's like, hey, this has gotten stale. Let's turn him heel. Turned him heel, and it's like, oh, we're not doing this heel thing right either. I weirdly enough feel like the feud he had with Dijak and then pairing him with Corbin has like refined him into just, hey, I'm a badass. I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like you. I'll fight you. I'm just here to wreck shit and leave. So I kind of like this version of Braun Breaker. And hitting us with the 23 miles an hour when he hits the ropes, and that's faster than Tyreek Hill. I didn't realize they had to deal with sports science, because how do you even clock those numbers if they are legit, which I doubt, but still. Right. You can make an argument that looks like he's moving about that speed.
Explosive as he eliminated Jimmy Uso as well as Finn Balor. He got to stare down Gunther. He pressed him over his head at one point. And I think I know my history here. Gunther had 1 pinfall loss in NXT, and that was to Braun Breaker. Or his last NXT match was against Braun Breaker, and he was pinned. Ilya did pin him for the NXT UK Championship. Breaker did get a win over Gunther.
Yep, Ilya choked him out, if I'm not mistaken. That's how they protected him there. Yeah, it was a choke out. Yeah, I think that is his. Yeah, because I was irate about it. He did pin him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they clearly have plans for him. He was one of the people that got themselves over last night and made themselves a legit possible star in the future.
What'd you think of Braun last night, Ryan?
I was pretty impressed with that kid. I've seen about everything there's seen wrestling, and actually, like, I even made that comment to my friends I was watching with. I was like, I can't believe how quick he's hitting the ropes here. You touched on him going against Gunther. I actually coming out of the Rumble, I wrote down like matches I thought could happen at Mania, and I could see Braun versus Gunther for the Intercontinental. If you want to see, Gunther eventually is going to have to drop it to somebody, and I would say Braun's probably top of my list right now. I just can't really come up with too many other names at this time.
I've been saying Ilya Dragunov, I think, from the beginning. I think the Chad Gable steam is completely cooled off. He wasn't even in the Rumble last night, but it just came to my head that Braun got a pin on Gunther in NXT. So I'm gonna kind of get on your bandwagon here, Ryan, and I think Braun's gonna be the one that's gonna take it from him, and it would make sense. You just got to build off this momentum, get him on main roster TV here moving forward. You can't have him go back down to NXT, and if you do, have him close it out. And Jacob, is he gonna be on the card next week, Vengeance?
Yes, he is in the Dusty Classic Finals. Him and Corbin will take on either the LWO or Mello and Trick.
Ooh. That's going to be some good stuff right there.
I don't think Braun's getting out of NXT till after Mania, because at some point this Braun Corbin bit is going to blow up and it's going to be great TV, because I think that might be your stand and deliver matchup, and maybe LWO gets the win, wins the Dusty Classic. I could see them taking on D'Angelo, the Mafia, the two that I can't stand. See them get tag belts off of them. So yeah, and then Trick and Mello are eventually going to split at some point. Like, they just have to, right? Like, I don't want it, but like, you can't keep teasing this. I think it'll be Trick turning on Mello, but yeah.
Let's get into R-Truth. One of the best parts of the entire Royal Rumble for me. And we'll get into the women's part later. Did you guys like this did you like R-Truth's infusion into this, Ryan?
Yeah, he's been doing a fun job ever since he came back. His Judgment Day thing is gonna pull apart here at some point, but he's just doing the best job he can to entertain people, and coming in confused in the girls' rumble and coming in and not getting the tag is I don't know, doing what he's supposed to do right now pretty well.
I like comedic relief in spurts in my wrestling, and R-Truth absolutely just knows how to push my buttons the right way every time. Jacob, what'd you think?
The man known as Ron Killings is a national treasure, period, point blank, plain and simple. If R-Truth does not go in the Hall of Fame within like 3 years of him finally wrapping it up, what are we doing here? The man is 50 plus years old and is still out here putting on great comedic. And the thing is, when the bell rings and you need R-Truth to go, the man can still go. This is a former NWA World Champ. I mean, the man is great. No matter what you give him, it works, because let's be honest, you put this gimmick or bit in anybody else's hands, it probably fails horribly.
It really does. Shout out to our chat right now. Thank you so much for all of your contributions, and keep it coming, please. Keep it coming, especially Carl here. We'll go back to Braun for a second. That they've definitely put him over very, very well, and definitely agrees with Jacob is that they have his character down now in NXT. So hopefully we can advance that on the main roster. We'll get into number 26 here with Damian Priest, who Jacob mentioned earlier on in the show. Got a nice little chokeslam in on Gunther, and then we get CM Punk at 27. This is where things start to really pick up, as he throws out Dom Mysterio and gets a ton of offense in. His first in-ring work on television. Did you think he looked rusty? What did you think? We'll go to Jacob first.
It's hard to tell if somebody looks rusty in a Rumble match unless you miss a spot completely obvious, like one that occurred in the women's match. I felt he looked fine. Like, it was a good place to protect him. He's still getting his WWE sea legs back underneath him. It's a different style than what he's been doing in AEW. You clearly see he's down at the PC being the happy uncle and also getting his reps in, working with the future. Like, I think this is a different Phil Brooks, because they keep mentioning they're like 10 years, and it's like, yeah, it's been 10 years. If you don't change as a person in 10 years, there's a drastic problem. And we, from all accounts and what we've seen, Punk looks happy. Punk looks refreshed, whatever the reason is. I'm here for it. Punk looked good. There's a couple of spots toward the end, but I mean, you've been in a Rumble. I'm going to attribute that to just being tired.
Ryan, Punk.
Yeah, I'd agree with that assessment. I would say, yeah, towards the end, things slowed down, but I mean, if you're in a Rumble at all for a little while, people are gonna look tired and should look tired. So I don't think they asked him to do too much in the match. So yeah, we'll kind of see. I'll be interested to see going forward, like how much they're gonna put him in matches here. Hasn't been on TV as much as I thought. I thought he'd be every single week ever since he's been back, but yeah, didn't ask him to do too much, so I thought he did fine.
I've been okay with the every other week him on television for the time being. I think obviously with Mania season approaching, they're going to want him on weekly, and we'll get into where he may go here in the future. You get Ricochet in at 28. We get Drew McIntyre in at 29, but before that, I always have to mention this. Miz came in at 25. Gunther eliminated him very early on. Nice run, Mizanin. You're welcome. Drew McIntyre, 29, and he made his presence known. We've been very vocal on this show, calling him the best thing on WWE TV probably since October. I don't know where you stand on this, Jacob, but we'll get to that in a second. He throws Ricochet about 2/3 of the way across the ring. We get Gunther eliminating Jey Uso. And number 30, as Jacob got into earlier, and we'll talk about it right now, is Sami Zayn. Did you like the spot of him at 30?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's perfect. We hadn't seen Sammy since Drew beat the ever living daylights out of him. And what does Sammy do? Oh, I'm enter the Rumble, and logically, I'm gonna go after the man that just put me on the shelf for the past couple weeks. Like, Sammy came in, lit up Drew, got distracted, went back to Drew. Perfect booking, perfect play out. I got no complaints with how Sammy was executed in the Rumble. Only thing maybe I could have said is, oh, he could have been in the Final Four, but it's fine. I think we know where we're going for Mania with Sammy now.
Ryan Beef, I'm going to give you something similar on topic. Did you like that the vast majority of the final competitors in this match were all Raw guys?
Yeah, I like the final four there, especially at Punk, Drew, Gunther, Cody. I thought those are probably the right four people to close it out. Be interesting to see where Drew, like you said, Drew's been outstanding in my opinion. It's funny when you watch a Rumble, what starts going through your head and you start trying to run down, well, it could be this guy, or I was even when Sammy came out 30, I was like, oh, maybe they try to go back and catch the fire they had here a year ago. And but yeah, I think those were the right four. Those are the four that have the most upside, I think, for the company right now.
Absolutely. Jacob, thoughts on Final Four and then McIntyre?
I wasn't crazy about the Final Four. It made sense. The way I see the Final Four in the Rumble is you have the obvious, you have the one or two obvious ones, you have the one that's like on deck, and then you have the one that's in the chamber that you're heat checking or that you want to establish. And a Final Four of Drew, Gunther, Cody, Punk on deck, already established, like they're all there. Former champ, longest reigning IC champ, hottest thing, second highest merch mover in Cody, and then you have Chick Magnet Punk. It's like you want star power and firepower, it's right there. You could have put Carmelo Hayes in the Final Four or Final Six. Sammy could have been a Final Four. Believe it or not, Karrion Kross would have made perfect sense in the Final Four for me. Would have made perfect sense. And you could have tied up a bunch of loose ends. But that Final Four had to be that four because of Roman Reigns, because you have the Hoover Dam and Roman Reigns holding up everything on SmackDown and just letting just enough get through that makes sense. So that Final Four worked. So yeah.
And as we hit that, McIntyre starts talking trash to Punk and just saying you've been gone for 10 years, all this stuff. And Punk eventually gains the momentum to carry himself to his feet, get McIntyre on his shoulders, stun him, and throw him over the ropes, which was, I don't know if that was necessarily well done. Ryan, what'd you think of that one?
Yeah, I would say if there's anything that came off a little shaky and maybe slow, it was definitely that throw out. It was kind of interesting too. You look at the two big throwouts. There is McIntyre talking trash and then getting thrown out. Well, then when Punk got thrown out, it was the same thing. I'm getting thrown out by not getting thrown out by Dusty's kids. So you really had two exact things that were very, very close to one another.
Excellent take there. Let's go to Gunther's throw out here. Cody for the second year in a row tossing him. Jacob, did you like that decision?
Yeah, because this tells me one thing. They're on a collision course, and assuming Cody gets the belt off of Roman, I wouldn't be surprised if Cody walked into Berlin, Germany, and had Giant Gunther standing right across the ring waiting.
There is yes, I'm loving the Europe infusion for these PLEs. Absolutely loving this. And it just brings such a freshness because the American crowds, they've obviously seen this show dog and pony before, but you head overseas in a fresh spot and it just adds an extra dimension. So that's a great call. We get 2 years in a row of a showdown that was multiple minutes, and Huffman came up with the obvious finish with Punk talking trash there, and Cody eventually catching him after getting out of a GTS and throwing him over the ropes. Jacob, I'll go to you first. Did you like that they repeated the multiple minutes Punk Cody showdown? They're kind of similar to last year.
Yeah, because there's 2 ways you end the Rumble. Well, 3 really. It's either one person gets the final 2 or 3 out all at one time. It's the sudden, quick, bam, bam, rapid elimination that you got in the Women's Rumble, or you have to turn it into a one-on-one match. Like, what else do you do? So I have no problem going back to back, and this was a thing for Punk. Let's get some reps in. Let's tell a story. You had that great promo from Monday. You had the, hey, watch after my kid, like it's all right there. It's perfect setup. Why not pay it off why not give a small tease of a payoff?
Absolutely. We actually got to see 3 German suplexes from CM Punk, and I can't remember the last time I saw that. I thought that was pretty cool stuff there with Cody. And I'll get into the finish before I get Ryan's opinion on this. Cody at some point hit a crossroads and goes down in a heap. Few seconds, or probably 30 to 45 seconds later, Punk hits a GTS, goes down in a heap. He then lands a pedigree and has this nice little smile on his face. Typical Phil Brooks, and they both... he tries to go for one more GTS. Ryan said, of course, I didn't wait 10 years to lose to Dusty's kid. Rhodes reversed the GTS, tosses Punk over the top to win the Rumble. Ryan, did you like the showdown?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. I thought part of me with how much Punk likes, Bret Hart. I was texting with my buddy Josh last night. We were like, are they going to do the Luger Hart finish where then you split off and one gets Rollins and one gets Reigns? Part of me, and I know they talked about this in the media scrum, but like part of me is sitting there. I'm like, oh, these guys a couple of years ago were mainstays for AEW, and what would Tony be thinking right now? Which I'm sure I'm sure Tony doesn't really dwell on that person really too much, but just kind of something I thought about. But yeah, I like the finish. Like I said at the beginning, I think the right guy won. As we're talking about, get some rust off of CM Punk, and I'm sure he's still heading the direction of Seth Rollins anyway. So
yeah, they spent 6 months together in AEW before Cody left for the WWE and made his debut at WrestleMania. Jacob, any closing thoughts on the Men's Rumble that we didn't touch on?
Yeah, 3 things really.
Yeah.
1, we didn't get a Kofi spot. I'm a little disappointed. Like, we didn't get the trademark Kofi spot. I don't know if Kofi's like, hey, I'm too old for this. I'm tired of doing this. Or if they were just maybe in all of the alleged redos that they've had to do for the Rumble, they eliminated Kofi's spot and forgot to put it back in. We didn't get a Ricochet moment other than him getting thrown halfway across. He got thrown across the bay from St. Pete back to Tampa by Gunther when he got eliminated. I'm sorry, Drew tossed him out. So there's that. And then the pedigree by Punk. Corey Graves might be the best announcer in wrestling and also the most underrated because he found a way to tuck that in there was so much in that pedigree by Punk. Like, that is a perfect line just to stick in there and perfect camera shot. And I mean, yeah, Punk with a pedigree. Gotta love him. You gotta love the man.
Kevin Dunn being gone for 3 to 4 weeks, you can definitely tell that those really weird, like hydroponic camera shots are starting to slowly just dissipate into the distance. Ryan, do you have any other closing thoughts on the Rumble before we move to the men's title match?
No, I like I said, I thought it was a pretty good match. Nothing to me really came off surprising, I guess, through the thing, which usually every year you have some sort of a surprise, but overall good. I think right guy won.
Absolutely. And again, plethora of options. Mania, the way they're progressing to this, and even to the Elimination Chamber, there's going to be some intrigue, is what we see on the undercard piece, as well as who Seth is going to face at WrestleMania if he is there.
The 4 a.m. Elimination Chamber.
Hey, perfect for me.
5 a.m., Jacob, you got this.
Perfect for me. I don't sleep anyway. I get up around that time. That's perfect. Get up, grab a coffee, sit down, enjoy a little pro wrestling, start your day. I kind of love the European, the overseas, the non-American time zone PLEs. Like, go to London. Please, give me a PLE at 2 o'clock on a Saturday in the middle of the summer. Please, I beg you. I love it.
Nice, refreshing, not summer shandy or something along those lines, and then just let's go to work. Roman Reigns defended his WWE Universal Championship in a 4-way against AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and LA Knight. We're not going to get into a blow for blow perspective here, but Ryan, were there some things that stood out to you in this match?
Yeah. I guess I could have said but I thought it was okay. I thought it was kind of slow. Entrances were very long. I think it was very predictable. I saw no scenario whatsoever of Reigns dropping the title. I also didn't feel like, as the champion, the dominant champion, I didn't feel like at any point he looked very strong. Which again, if you want to, I mean, he won, but help of Solo again, and just like, it was just a lot of him taking other people's finishers and then finally getting a little run at the end. But I liked it. I would have rather seen it be like a fatal 4-way where it's elimination and maybe get it down to him versus Randy. But just didn't feel like he came out of there looking very strong, which going towards Mania, that's what you need to have, is him look dominant.
Where has the fatal 4-way been, by the way? That needs to make a pro wrestling comeback somewhere. Jacob, give me your thoughts on this before I touch on a few things in the match.
If I had to put a grade on this, I would probably give it a B, maybe a B+. I actually enjoyed it. Here's the thing with a fatal 4-way, and if you book it right, it's a beautiful piece of art. You have 3 people who hate one man. Among those 3, one of them also has a beef with another, and then you have Randy Orton. It was perfect. Match started, they beat Reigns down. The thing that's being told with Roman that I don't think people are starting to pick up on, because they're maybe fatigued from the Bloodline storyline and they feel like it's lost some steam, which it has, is that Roman is slowly starting to crumble and fall apart right in front of us. Like, these days are numbered. And this match is another representation of it. Look at the LA Knight match. Roman has not looked sharp, especially since he got pinned by main event Jey Uso.
Yes.
At Money in the Bank. It's a slow, steady decline. He was in trouble at SummerSlam. You're chipping away at God mode. Roman is becoming human. And in a fatal 4-way with 3 people that legitimately don't like you, what do you expect Roman to look like? Do you want Roman to nerf everybody? Because then all we do is come and complain and go, well, here comes Roman. Yeah, super Roman. Like, no, you played it perfectly. You escape. That's Roman's thing. Right now, it's just, I have to do whatever to escape and survive. And there was a point where I was like, oh, they're going to do it. They're going to pull the belt off of Roman, which is perfect. And it only could have went to one person, and that's Orton. Because if you go to Orton, you have either Randy and Punk have history. Randy and Cody definitely have history. That would definitely make a lot of sense for Mania. But no, right person won. Roman looked how Roman should have looked. He's starting to falter, and he just found a way to win. And thank God for Solo, because Solo at some point is going to not be there. And that Solo Roman feud is going to be great TV.
He mentioned, Roman that is, on Twitter earlier in the day that he's going to stack some people, which he did at WrestleMania, I believe 38, with Edge and Bryan Danielson.
Yep.
So they repeated that spot last night. I do want to get into a couple of highlights. Pat McAfee bringing out the hip hop fan in me, breaking out a Jadakiss line when he said he's not cocky, he's confident. And when he says he's the best, that's a compliment. one of the few things Pat McAfee did right last night, because his obnoxious yelling and screaming was just getting on my absolute last nerves.
And it's like you know what you're getting with McAfee. I actually enjoyed his spot in the men's rumble. I saw a lot of people hate it. I kind of enjoyed it.
He's definitely acquired taste. It completely depends on the person. What do you think of Pat McAfee, Ryan? Before I get into some small breaking news here.
Yeah, I'm kind of whatever on Pat McAfee. Like sometimes I like him, sometimes I don't. I listen to his show every once in a while. I agree. I think his spot in the men's rumble was pretty funny. I enjoyed that.
Was he the only person in the history of the Rumble to eliminate himself? That'd be a Michael Jenkinson question, perhaps.
I feel like no. I think R-Truth and or Santino have taken themselves out before.
Which wouldn't surprise me.
I'll give you one. I think didn't Drew Carey get in on the Rumble years ago and like jump out when he saw Kane? That's a long time ago. I think that might be one of them, though.
This is a definite Michael Jenkinson or Stewart question, maybe a Rick Shelton question. We'll have to definitely dive into that when we hit the Facebook group up. So just reported, Ryan, thank you so much for helping out here. Braun Breaker ended up last night in the Royal Rumble replacing Brock Lesnar for the obvious reasons. We won't get into it here. And it looks like he's going to have his final match at Vengeance next weekend, and he will officially be moving to the main roster. So we're definitely loving that. A couple more points on this match. I thought AJ had some tremendous bumping all the way throughout. The counter with Randy Orton hitting the RKO on multiple people, including, I think, the big flying one where he hit it on Roman. That's right, he was going for a Superman punch, was tremendous. Had the false finish. Here comes Solo to pull out the ref, and I'm going to bring, I believe this is Brandon Evans' point in the chat. Can't win a match without outside interference. We definitely agree. Jacob alluded to it, though, I think. The chink is slowly starting to be removed from the armor of the tribal chief. He doesn't have too many more bullets left to fire in that tank, in my humble opinion. We'll close that out at the end here. One thing I absolutely loved was Solo Sikoa maybe running faster than Braun Breaker in the ring, going through the barricade, trying to hit AJ Styles. That was a moment. Did you guys like that part?
Oh, yeah. I loved it. I just want to know, did they gimmick that part of the barricade? Because if not, like the way he moved, it looked like it was a legit enough force to move that barricade, gimmick or not.
Yeah. Solo, what'd you think of that part, Ryan?
A little worried about Samantha Irvin there, to be honest. I was like, when it came flying through, I'm like, I hope she knew that was coming because he flew through there pretty good.
I don't think she moved.
No,
I don't think she flinched. She was just like, oh.
Good for her. Hopefully that makes a YouTube clip somewhere and I can get a view on that. So we talked about the stacking, and there was a stacking point in the match where Roman actually ended up on the bottom. AJ Styles hit a phenomenal forearm on top of the pile. I believe Knight was at the top of this, either Knight or it was Randy, and he stacked him up. They all kick out at 2. Kind of a cool spot there. But then, of course, Roman gets out of it, and boom, ends up hitting a spear on AJ Styles after Styles had hit a spot. Or who was the one who hit the spot? Was it LA Knight with BFT on somebody? It was
went for a BFT.
Yep, went for a BFT, missed. Styles ends up kind of getting in the way. Roman hits the spear. We get the win. He retains. I mean, we all knew this was coming. Roman's odds of losing before WrestleMania are like 0.0001. He's the most important character right now in the WWE. So, yeah, I think that was the right thing. Let's blow through Logan Paul and Logan Paul and Kevin Owens before we get to our women's match. Jacob, did you like this match?
Actually, yes, it made perfect sense. It told a story. You paid off the whole, hey, I can knock you out angle. So that worked perfect. And then, of course, you have the Entourage member jumping in, trying to help him. Ref catches it. There's nice payoff there. You have Aussie Down, which is actually a great tag team name for those two coming out, the slide, it worked perfect. You wrapped up a whole bunch of storylines. KO grabbing the brass knuckles, knocking out Logan, but KO being so in the moment, forgetting to take them off, the ref catching it. A1 perfectly executed. My only complaint with this match is why were you on after the world title match?
Would you wanted that for a cool down after the women's Rumble?
Yeah, and this is where there should have been a fifth match because you needed 2 cooldown matches. You needed something to cool down after the women's Rumble, and I'm using cool down in quotes. And you probably needed something to not get the crowd up too high before you go into the men's Rumble, especially when you started it with both Usos. So yeah, fifth match would have been perfect, but just I guess it makes the US title feel big. And my only thought was, oh, okay, if we're doing this match now, maybe we're giving Styles, Orton, or LA some time to catch a breath before they come in the men's Rumble and pull double duty.
I'll get into
the one did.
I'll get into the crowd in a second. Huffman, what'd you think of Logan Paul, Kevin Owens?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Solid match. I think it's a good way to you keep the belt on Logan Paul. I think it still makes Kevin Owens look strong. I think if he loses, I think he doesn't maybe look as good. I would expect maybe next PLE these guys go again, just to kind of finish that off. I'm kind of looking at LA Knight maybe stepping in against Logan Paul. I think that could be a pretty good matchup for Mania. Kind of a nice crowning moment for LA Knight, even though he hasn't, he's had a heck of a year. So that might be a good thing to give him here going forward.
And I was happy he didn't get pinned last night by Roman. I called AJ Styles because I felt like that man's bulletproof at this point, and he's got another year or two left in his contract, and there's just going to be no harm, no foul when it comes to that. I like the selling. I like the Logan Paul stomping Kevin Owens' hand throughout the entire match. Those parts were great. Outside of that, I think here's something that's kind of, I don't know. It's a wrestling trope, but why does the heel, if he has the brass knucks and connects and gets the 3 count, never get caught? Yet Kevin Owens, when he hits Logan Paul with the knucks, 1, 2, and the ref just mysteriously sees the knucks, he actually looks up, sees the knucks, and DQs the face.
So, I mean, it makes perfect sense.
If
I'm a serial killer, I know how to murder multiple people. It takes you a while to catch me versus if you just murder somebody one time randomly, you're a little sloppy with it.
I mean, KO's been a heel though, so you would think he's slimy enough to be able to hide that instead of
the man was a little hot. He was a hothead. That played into the whole thing. Logan called him a hothead, and he couldn't control himself. And you know what he should have done. They were in the PC Thursday when that video came out. Mm-hmm. Well, Logan throwing the prime in a little scuffle they had. He should have just walked over to Regal and be like, "Hey, Regal, real quick, man. So these brass knucks, what's the best way to tuck them real quick?" He was right there.
What'd you think of the face heel knucks portion, Ryan?
Oh, I thought they, executed that pretty good. Him getting caught at the end, it is funny to think about. Yeah, it never works the other way like that. But like I said, I think he keeps Owens strong. He didn't have to eat a pin or get cheated out of a win. I mean, he got cheated, but I don't know. That was a nice finish for that match.
Good story advancement. And again, we're going to see both these guys in some pretty high-profile matches at WrestleMania. Both of them, I'm sure. It's going to be a treat. All right, we're going to go to the opening and now the women's Rumble. Since we have a pretty high viewership, again, thank you all so much for tuning in. We have gone through the men's Rumble. We're going to hit the women's right now. And I'm going to go over the opening show package for about 5 seconds. Because if you're going to feature Terry Bollea at some point, why not do it in the very beginning? Just don't put him out in the middle of the St. Petersburg audience. I know Jacob's shaking his head right now, as we all are here in the chat.
So, real quick, I can't believe I'm about to talk about Hulk Hogan. I have a weird feeling that Hogan was supposed to be in the men's Rumble. I just have that weird feeling of 40 years, you're making the whole 40 years of Hulkamania, 40 years of WrestleMania. I've seen Hogan more on my TV this week than I have in the past 5 years. You're in his neck of the woods. Coco ain't nothing but an hour and some change away. I feel like until the Vince news dropped, there may have been a chance they were going to roll old man Hogan out there and let Real American ring off. And I am so glad that TKO is in control, because the old regime probably still would have done it.
Mm-hmm. Especially what happened all week long with. Yeah, this was a great call by the I guess this was a decent audible call by the WWE.
Yeah, it's like, screw it. We've done the promo packages. That's fine. We can get away with that. It's going to upset a lot of people, but like, we don't think it's going to be as bad if we actually trot him out in person.
Agreed. Ryan, give me your overall thoughts on the Women's Rumble that opened this show. And actually, before you do that, by the way, this Tampa crowd at times was just silent. They were so hot for this women's match. Give them tremendous credit. I thought they did a phenomenal job in this match. Jacob, go ahead and throw an argument in there before we move on to the match.
It's not that so much that they're silent. It's they're in a baseball field, and I've been in Tropicana Field. That field sucks.
It does.
Sucks. It is not a highly regarded baseball stadium. Like, there's a whole argument right now with the Rays in the city of Tampa and St. Pete of like, hey, we want a new stadium. Who's going to pay for it? We want commitment. The Trop also, baseball fields aren't good for acoustics. So there's that. But yeah, that crowd had its moments, definitely. But I think some of that is attributed to the acoustics of the building.
Especially, I know I'm thinking back to the Astrodome in WrestleMania 17 when there were times where you couldn't hear a thing. It was very, very loud, especially with the Jeff Hardy spear, or the edge spear of Jeff Hardy in 17. But yeah, that could be a very good point. And I've always said it's really impossible to dress up a pig and make it look good. St. Pete's and from a Tampa, yeah, that baseball stadium's garbage. Ryan, give me your thoughts on the crowd and then the Women's Rumble to follow that as well.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting pick for the Rumble this year. You would think with all these advertising for Disney and Visit Clearwater and St. Pete's that they did throughout the show, maybe they can build them a new stadium now. I don't know if I've ever seen a PLE do like actual like visitor advertising like that. So I don't know if that's, are we going to get that as a regular thing? Come to Perth, Australia, down under, but yeah, I don't know if I've seen that before, but I thought the Women's Rumble, I would give it an A. There's a lot of really cool spots in it. I think having some cross promotion there, I think was pretty interesting, as we can talk about. Thought Naomi's return was very good. She performed well, and I went to TNA Bound for Glory in Chicago a couple of years ago. So Naomi and Jordan Grace were both on that show, and I was just like, yeah, they're both very good, and they showed that last night.
Jacob, overall thoughts before I touch on there's a lot of bullet points here.
Overall, I give that probably an A plus. Like, that might be the best Women's Rumble I've seen off of the top of my head. I think maybe the first or second one is up there with it, but from the surprises, the returns, the moments, and the spots that we got, that was A1 from the start. Like, they hit on every note. There was like one little botch in there that's like, whatever, we get it. But like, it was damn near perfect, almost flawless.
I saw quite a few botches in this match. I'm not even going to bother to highlight those because the way this match was constructed, you guys hit the nail on the head. I loved it. I will give probably the most contrarian opinion at the end of this match. I'm going to be on an island all by myself here, and I'm perfectly okay. Throw the spears, everybody. Throw the spears. We started out with Trinity Fatu, Naomi is number 2, facing off with Natalya. Very, very loud pop for Naomi. Welcome back. Great stuff. Bayley comes in at 3. Crowd once again is pretty high on that. We get Candice LeRae at 4. I'll just throw my 5 seconds in on her. Can we give her a legit run? I know it's never going to happen.
It'll happen.
Ooh. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that on Patreon tomorrow. Jordan Grace, the TNA Knockouts champion, at 5. I'll go to Jacob first on this. I was thrilled. I'm sure you were too.
Muscle Mommy. Yes. I had not quite gotten home yet during this point of the match, but I'm getting texts in my Discord from a couple of my boys, and they're like, "Oh, they acknowledged that Naomi was in Impact and was the champ." And I literally sent a message, and I was like, "Honestly, I would not be surprised if there's some kind of partnership between WWE and TNA now, just because TNA has streaming on Endeavor's platform now. Like it's a new era. Like Trips is willing to play with almost anybody. So why not?" And then sure enough, as I send that, here comes Jordan Grace. And A1 job by Corey Graves McAfee of immediately going, "I'm not familiar," and then boom, figured it out and put her over quickly.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like Jordan Grace is a star. Impact TNA has one. If she ends up in WWE, they have one. Like we that have watched TNA Impact knew that Jordan Grace was something special, but this like made her a star. They made I'll say 3 stars last night in the Women's Rumble. Like you solidified or made 3 stars last night, and Jordan Grace is one of them.
You get All Japan with NXT too, so there could be some future collaboration. Jordan Grace, I know you mentioned her earlier, Ryan. Anything to add?
Yeah, she was outstanding. I thought I might be getting ahead of myself here, but like the spot where Bianca hit her with the ODK on the apron there was like, wow, So yeah, good showing there.
Perfect way to eliminate somebody like Grace.
Yep.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be shocked, if we see her again here at some point.
I was going to go straight to Bianca Belair at 10. I think I can keep going because you just mentioned that spot. I like that that Pat McAfee tried to play off that he knew who the Great Muta was because that was mentioned. He doesn't. Kane has 18 Royal Rumble appearances. That's just way too many. Well, let's get to that before we get to Piper Niven at 15, who I also thought was very good in this Rumble. Yeah, Belair with the KOD on the apron to Jordan Grace, but Jordan Grace had so many moments in this. I think if there is one match to watch, this might be the one. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, if you're going to go back and rewatch anything from last night's Rumble, yeah, definitely just put Women's Rumble on and let her play.
Yeah, for sure. Outside of that, we get into the middle here. Nia Jax comes in at 19 and immediately makes a handful of eliminations. She ends up with, I believe, the most eliminations on the night, and she does. She had 8 total eliminations throughout. So you had over 50% of the eliminations take place between Nia Jax and Bayley. Bayley had 7. If you are going to heat her up, what a way to do it right here. But I'm going to come back to that later. We then get to a nice little Piper Niven Nia Jax showdown where they just take turns squashing Chelsea Green intentionally and unintentionally. From comedic relief, Chelsea Green played the spot. Did you like this, Ryan?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I think you had that to lighten things up a little bit, and then R-Truth thinking he was in the Rumble was pretty good too. So just a couple comic relief there spots. I thought they did those well.
Brandon, thank you so much. We got 1/3 of the team, but we definitely have a patron, and we have a first timer that'll probably be a repeat offender here in the future. Jacob, what'd you think of Chelsea Green?
I love Chelsea Green. Like, how can you not enjoy Chelsea Green? Since she returned last year and lasted 5 seconds, like that was her whole thing before she got squashed left and right. She was like 5 seconds, 5 seconds. She's like, I beat 5 seconds. It's great. Chelsea Green plays the Karen comedic relief character perfect. She's much like R-Truth on a lesser scale, but also you can't give anybody this gimmick, this role, and expect it to hit the way it does. Like, I love Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green, perfect. You could at some point pay off and give Chelsea Green a title run of maybe like a month or 2, like a nice little transition. Give her one of those, hey, thank you for everything you've done, and she would be insufferable as a champion. It'd be perfect.
That's exactly where I was going. Chelsea Green, in a similar way, plays the R-Truth role. You got the women and men's side from the comedic perspective covered with those two. It's great. We then get into Becky Lynch at 21, who ends up eliminating Chelsea Green. I'm going to fast forward to 24, where this part I just cringed. Valhalla comes in at 24. Michael Cole demands the antlers, and she shows up. Yes, yes, yes. She might win this thing. Michael Cole. And then R-Truth runs down, gets in the ring looking confused. Nia actually throws out R-Truth. Another great spot in this Rumble. Ryan, did you like that spot?
Yeah, I like the R-Truth stuff. The antlers, I don't know. I'm not sure what I was watching at that point.
Jacob, R-Truth, antlers.
Yeah, like the antlers thing, I was like, I watch Raw occasionally, and I'm like, never noticed, wouldn't have thought anything of it until you just drove that point home, Michael Cole. But you know what? I'm just glad you're having fun on commentary and your choice of personality. So I'm cool with it, but I was like, actually, I'd been happy if Valhalla would have won over somebody else, and we'll get to that in a second. But R-Truth, great spot. I loved when he was walking out with Adam Pearce, and he goes, wait, those were women? You're telling me those are women in there? I was like, nice.
Oh, R-Truth. Like you said, national treasure. We get a few more people into this ring. We get Roxanne Perez at 27. This is where it was just bang, 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 bang when it comes to your appearances with the last 4 women that came in. You had Jax throw out Shayna Baszler, Mishin, and Shotzi like almost consecutively while Roxanne Perez comes in. Let's get into this at 28. Let's start with Huffman. Jade Cargill finally makes her debut.
Yeah, I had a feeling she was going to come out. He was on my list, or she was on my list to you and Ryan Drosty last night. I just wanted some proof that I made that claim.
Oh, yes.
So I thought she performed very well. We were trying to figure out if she almost has the same entrance music as she had in AEW. It was very similar, I thought. But I thought she looked like a real star. There's some stuff between her and Bianca Belair that I could see maybe that would be the pairing for Mania with those two. But we'll see what happens. But thought she performed pretty well.
Jade, what'd you think? Or Jacob of Jade?
Perfect place to put her. Perfect place. Like, you didn't put her in the Rumble too early. You definitely didn't start with her. She was protected. She got major spots and moments. And I'm going to just go ahead and say this. She did more in the 15 minutes she was in the Rumble, maybe 20, than she did in her 3 years in AEW. Like, just period, point blank, plain and simple. She is a bigger name and bigger star than what AEW did for her. And a large part of that is, well, you have a machine behind you that is built for this. And they just kind of know what to do. They recognize star power when they see it. From the Nia Jax stare down, the slam of Nia, everything with Nia. And then you had the Bianca moment. And shout out to Trips or whoever they have running production now, because you dropped that camera shot and you stuck that Mania logo in the background. It probably won't be this year, but that is a beautiful tease and one hell of an image to see.
You mentioned almost everything except for the modified Samoan drop of Nia. Jade got to eliminate her all by herself. I mean, you want to talk about, again, 15 to 20 minutes of getting somebody over in quick fashion, faster than other company did.
And
Jacob?
Here's one more thing about Jade. Like, she lifted Nia. That wasn't much of a jump from Nia. Like, no, she was just like, all right, watch this. Like, she strong-armed Nia. Nia's not the smallest woman in the world. And like, that right there is like, yo, you want to talk 40 years of Mania? As much as I can't stand Hulk Hogan, that gave you great Hogan Andre vibes. And that will probably be Jade's Mania match. It's Jade and Nia. And I think that is the perfect first person for Jade to go up against.
I would not argue that. One of my favorites, because she's from Minnesota and was trained here, Tiffany Stratton at 29. She showcased some skills in here as well with the immediate swanton onto about 5 or 6 women. Just getting a lot of her gymnastics background in. You can just tell by the way she moves and the way that she presents herself. I think she's going to be at the top of the card. It's going to take a little bit longer, which is perfectly fine because look at all the women we've already mentioned. And we're back. So Tiffany Stratton, again, like I said, I mean, I think in the next 5 years, she has the potential to be a main event presentation. Did you like Tiffany Stratton, Ryan?
Yeah, she was really solid. I haven't really followed her too much, but I would say maybe of the 5 that stood out in the women's rumble, I think she was probably in that 5.
Jacob, you're familiar with Tiffany?
Yeah, I hated Tiffany Stratton the first time she popped up on my TV on NXT, and I told my boy this. We talked about it last night. He was like, "Oh no, I love the character. He's big on if you can nail the character, we can figure out the in ring later." And my thing is, I need kind of both to have some standard and balance, but like the rich girl daddy trope, I was like, I've seen it. I'm over it. Generic blonde number 7, here we come. And finally, she's kind of doubted in. She's gotten a little bit of an edge to her, a bit of an attitude. She's showing a little bit of comedic with the stuff she did with Fallon Henley. I am a big fan of Tiffany Stratton now. The ring work has drastically improved, which makes it more enjoyable for me. So, yeah, I agree with you. Within 5 years, Tiffany Stratton's holding one of those major titles on the main roster.
You get home run athletes with a Jade Cargill, as mentioned in the chat, that you should, or excuse me, with Nia, you should have seen her play basketball when she was in school. Wow. So you get,
I can see that.
okay. I mean, you see Nia. You also see, like I said, Jade Cargill with the athleticism. Her husband's a former MLB baseball player. It's there. Tiffany with the athleticism. I mean, it's great stuff. You get the character work tied in. We're all good. Liv Morgan's back at 30. I see some cringing from Jacob. Let's, before we get to the cringe piece, I'm going to move along towards the end here. We get some eliminations going. The aforementioned spot of Jade and Bianca staring each other down as they have military presses on Liv and Becky. You get the crowd shot as mentioned earlier. That might have been the highlight of my entire Rumble right there for me. I don't know about you guys, but get the stare down. I actually mentioned here that Naomi still looks spry after an hour, as she made a couple of moves in there before getting tossed by Jade Cargill, as well as Becky Lynch was tossed by Jade Cargill. You get Bayley eliminating Bianca and Tiffany Stratton. Here we are with the final 3. Ryan, did you have this on your bingo card? Bayley, Liv Morgan, Jade Cargill.
I probably didn't have Liv. I know like Ryan Drost, he picked Bayley as his winner. My winner I actually picked was, I thought Jade was going to come in and win, and just they were going to strap a rocket onto her at that point. And but yeah, those I think were a solid 3 to finish. Be pretty interesting where they come out of this. I mean, I have Bayley. I think is pretty natural. Going to go with EO there, but it'll be cool to see where the other few people go.
Jacob, your final 3, and then give me your Liv Morgan thoughts.
That was not the final 3 that I had. Honestly, going into this women's Rumble, it seemed like it was Bayley's to win, but I was also like, well, you could do Becky. You have that. And then I was like, honestly, my dark horse was Nia. She's been on a heater since she's come back. She beat Becky clean. It's like if you really want to go there, you go Nia, you go Rhea at Mania. It's just one last like crowning moment for Rhea at Mania. So I was like, dark horse Nia. But yeah, I definitely didn't have Jade in my final 3 because my problem and my thoughts on Jade Cargill are you cannot fly too close to the sun, Icarus. If you do, your wings will melt. And I feel like that's what WWE has to do with Jade is be careful and don't fly too close to the sun, because if she wins and goes to Mania, now you put her in a one-on-one main event level match against either presumably Io or Rhea. Yeah, she's been in the PC, but let's just be honest, she needs more reps. And then you want to make a star, cool. Does she win or does she lose at Mania? If she loses, you really, depending upon how she loses, you really just made a mistake and kind of cooled her off. And if she wins, guess what? There's nowhere to go but down. And how quick is that fall down? It's just, you have a star. You have no rush. We don't need her to go on 100 and something win streak like Goldberg or like she did in AEW. And once she lost in AEW, whether that was she was on her way out or not, you kind of saw how that played out. Like, just let's relax, slow build with Jade. So yeah, I didn't have her final 3. I had her in like maybe the last 10 or 6. Like, just close enough where it's like, hey, we want you to know that we got plans for her. We see it, you see it, type deal. So yeah, the final 3, Liv Morgan. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't see it. I said generic blonde number 7 earlier. Here comes generic blonde number 8 that just happened to get lost in a hot topic.
You're not wrong.
I don't get it. There's no character. What is it? The happy-go-lucky underdog? I don't. Somebody please explain it to me. Like, I don't get it. I could understand if it was like something I got and I'm like, okay, cool, this isn't for me. This is just, I don't get the appeal of Liv Morgan. Is she a nice person by all accounts? Sure. She loves to hang out with her fans and all that. Great. What's your character? Bell to bell, are you really like, I don't get it. It just does not click for me. So I cringed at 30 and I sighed because I was like, ugh. And my first thought was, she's Final 4 and she might mess around and win it.
Especially after last year when she was Final 2. I will definitely say, and I'm going to get to 2 comments here in the chat in a moment. With Liv Morgan, they've tried, and the crowd likes her, yet there is definitely something missing there. The character piece for sure. Like, as soon as Ronda broke her at Extreme Rules, was she supposed to be this crazy person? Like, what was she tapping into here? So I definitely agree with you. Liv Morgan's just a couple tiers below what's at top. Question here in the chat: do you think that the Rumble matches could have had more NXT stars? In my mind, I think they had the perfect blend. You maybe could have done one more on each side, but I mean, there really wasn't much to add. Ryan, go first.
Yeah, I thought they were pretty good with everything. I liked that they didn't bring back a lot of the legends. I think every year people are waiting for like, oh, Trish or Lita, or and I think that gets to be a little bit exhausting. The one name that I was thinking maybe would show up was AJ Lee. Didn't, and that's okay that she wasn't there, but that was one that I thought would stood out. One really cool spot they did. I know we didn't get a Kofi spot, but the Kairi Sane holding on, that was pretty impressive. And then even like, I can't remember who it was, but like they're holding on to trying to stand there using Bianca's hair. That was another spot that was pretty fun. But like I said, I would have said probably an A for the Women's Rumble. I thought it was a really good kickoff to the show. A lot of energy after that. And then that's what kind of made those 2 matches in the middle maybe go into a lull a little bit, but it'll be really interesting to see where they go. Like I said, I got coming out of this, I got Io versus Bayley. I think I'm going Becky versus Ripley for the other title. And then I would go Jade Bianca, although the Nia Jax Jade, I think would be a really good place to start too.
Tiffany Stratton was the one who pulled on Bianca Belair's hair towards the tail end there. Yes, that was a cool spot. Kyrie with the spot maybe of the night. She looked like the Exorcist floating in the middle of the ring. I was just in absolute awe of that. Jacob, the NXT, did you think they could have added another person or two, or were you okay with the inclusions?
No, I kind of liked everybody that they used because my thing is the only person from NXT that you could have probably stuck in a Rumble would have been Trick Williams.
Yeah.
And that's just because if you saw SmackDown when he came out to save Mello, that whole arena is chanting, whoop that Trick. And you're like, hey, if this is a heat check, this is one of the most unintentional heat checks. Like, oh, we got one here. So other than Trick, I mean, let's look at the NXT women's roster right now. There's Fallon Henley, Lila Valkyrie, Roxanne was in there, Tiffany Stratton. Like, there's not much mainstream big name power down at NXT right now. I don't know where Satomura is. Maybe she could have got in there, could have brought her back if she's still on the roster.
Blair Davenport
Blair Davenport could have been like, Yeah, you could have put Blair Davenport in there, but I feel like you used the right ones that have a little bit of name value and crossover appeal with the main roster. So, yeah, no, I have no problem with the NXT usage. And more importantly, I am glad that not a single legend was used.
Yes. The podcast that I was on a couple hours before the show was one person was just adamant, please get AJ Lee in there. I think, yeah, that would have been the only inclusion I wouldn't have mind seeing, especially now with Punk obviously being in the promotion.
Yep.
So, real fast, we got down to that final three. Bayley, of course, scores with the victory here. You had Liv eliminate Cargill with her finisher, and then as that happens and she's mildly celebrating, Bayley with the shotgun drop kick to the abs. Down she goes. Bayley's the winner. Crowd goes nuts. 60 minutes, I believe, that she spent in there. Naomi was in there for about an hour and 4 minutes. Bayley might actually win a little bit longer. That being said, she is the winner here. And I know, Ryan, you touched on it. The right winner here. Jacob, same?
Yep, same. Right person, right winner. It's going to be the right beatdown in about 3 weeks by Damage Control. Yeah, perfect.
This is the part where I have to vent, and I'm hoping this takes like 90 seconds. Everybody knows my kayfabe brain. I hate that I have a kayfabe brain at times. I do dislike this with an absolute passion. I did pick Bayley on the Fightful Select pre-show. I get it. 2 singles wins in the last 7 months on SmackDown. For the last 2 years, she's been eating pins left and right. Bianca made her look awful, and entire Damage Control look horrible a couple of years ago from SummerSlam rolling all the way through Extreme Rules. They have been playing this up at Survivor Series, especially with Bayley and just the whole just not being able to get along with Damage Control. So we definitely saw this coming. This is on World Wrestling Entertainment for them to actually get me to believe that Bayley should win this. Where were the victories here over the last 4, 5, 6, 7 months? Where has the build been for the last year? Other than Ronda Rousey coming back 4 months from pregnancy and winning the Royal Rumble, probably didn't deserve it, but that was a Vince move. With this, but the only steam that Bayley had from a character perspective was the sympathy of her just being about to be overthrown by Damage Control, a group that I don't necessarily care about because other than Io as champion, they've been jobbers to the stars for the last year and change. So that's me. Everybody else out there has been throwing the counterpoints. I understand it. That's just the island that I lie on. Feel free to retort before we close.
Ryan, you want to go first?
No, I can see that too. I mean, Damage Control, I don't think has looked, very strong here. It seems like obviously they have one of the champions, but it just seems like they've gotten beat down quite a bit. I know even like in the media scrum after Triple H was talking about Bayley and how Bayley she's just kind of been a steady worker and has kind of gotten overlooked here quite a bit even recently. So it's I don't know, they'll have to get a pretty good run for her to build towards Mania, I think, to heat her up again. But yeah, I can that's a really good point too. Jacob?
So I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. I'm glad you mentioned this because I've had the same little bit with your calling a main event Jey Uso not being main event because he hasn't won. I mean, here's the thing. Main event simply says you headline, that you are at the top, right? Doesn't mean you win. Look at this like boxing. You could be a great B-side to a boxing fight and you constantly keep getting beat, but because you are good enough or people want to see you enough, you get paid to be in the main event as a B-side. You can call it a high-price gatekeeper if you want. Same thing applies here. And also, the Rumble is nothing more than a giant lottery. She just happened to find the golden ticket. Now, the work becomes, what do we do from here to April? That's the trick. So we'll see.
Which I think they're gonna do it magnificently. I think Bayley's gonna, that's where she's gonna shine. again, the problem is tying the loose ends in over the last year and a half. So I definitely understand your point. I'm gonna throw this in here that everybody wanted her to win because she put a lot of people over, which, I mean, here's the thing here too. Look at all the women's Rumble winners other than Ronda Rousey. They all have had very strong cases. Asuka wins the first one, having never been pinned in NXT, never been pinned on the main roster. I bought that. That was
You
easy.
see how that ended?
Right. But that's not about the ending. We're going to probably get a different ending here with Bayley. I'm talking about the lead up coming into the Rumble. You have Rhea winning it last year, who dominated, and look where she is right now. Goodness gracious. Bianca won it. We got that unreal main event. Charlotte won it. She's always hot enough to where she's believable. The aftermath of that was weird. NXT champion, kind of goofy there too. Becky winning it obviously made all the sense in the world the year that she won it. So with that, again, I am nitpicking with a capital N here, folks. I really am. This is kayfabe brain. I understand it. I just want that part to make sense. Because Bayley arguably is the most compelling women's character in the WWE. It's either her to me or it's Rhea. It's one of the two. Rhea being the head of an all-male faction and her being so damn good in that aspect. But Bayley's right there. So I understand it. Just please give me some more substance. Give me some W's. I know it's coming. I just wanted a better build.
That's fair. That's fair. But, again, it's a giant crapshoot, essentially. So, also, here's the thing. Let's look at it like this. Let's look at the 30 women that were in there. Who's been on any shape, form, or fashion of a hot streak?
Nia. I mean,
yeah, that's your only one.
Yeah. Becky, before that, before she got beat by Nia, so that wouldn't have made sense. Because I had Becky winning this going away until yesterday morning. And that's when I changed my mind and I said Bayley because I could see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you said, Asuka coming in undefeated, nerfing everything left and right, and then you would have had somebody random win. It's not quite as bad when you look at everything in consideration, kayfabe or not. But I see your points.
Yeah. Again, nitpicking. Ryan, give me closing thoughts on anything I said / Women's Rumble / I think anything from a Rumble perspective this year before I go back to Jacob.
I thought it was a good show. I thought it delivered. I was entertained. It felt, it was about 9:30 there last time. I was like, oh, they are gonna go to 11, definitely. So I thought it moved pretty fast for a show. I'm excited. It's WrestleMania season now officially. We can start seeing the direction of some of these people, and I don't know. Best time of year to watch wrestling is now. So pretty happy to get that going.
Anything to promote at all? I know that you're one of our devoted patrons, which we always thank you for.
No, not really. I don't have a Twitter. I love people being on the Top Rope Nation discussion, and I like to chime in. And I agree with a lot of people, and I disagree with some people. But that's the best part of pro wrestling is get to voice our opinions.
I love 99% of our group chatter. There's that 1% when things can get serious / real, and that's when it's like, ooh, take that step back.
Yeah.
Which is why Thursday, thank the Lord I had no internet. Oh my gosh. Jacob, anything from a Rumble perspective you wanted to follow up on / promote?
No, I sitting here talking this back through a few too. I think I will up my grade to a B- from a C+ to a B-. So you got the 79.5 that rounds you up to an 80.
There it is.
So it's a B- because the women's Rumble was just that good. Like from start to finish, the return, the surprises, everything. I feel like this, like I said, it's a okay show, probably one of the worst that Triple H put on, but this is the bottom, then we're in good hands. And now here's the fun part. It's Mania season. Like Ryan said, best time to watch wrestling. Hey, we take the fall off. We get through Survivor Series and whatever random event in Saudi, and we drag through. I'm so glad they didn't do a December PLE. And now, hey, foot to the pedal. It's Mania season. It's Mania 40, 2 nights. Let's go.
Do you want to promote tomorrow's show?
Yes, tomorrow I will be joining you on Top Rope Nation Unplugged. It'll be fun. And I'll be bringing my cohort, Mr. Cedric Welton, with me, and we'll discuss a little bit of this and that. And also, speaking of promotions, there is a top 10 women's wrestling matches list that I put out last week, available on steelcrew.com. You can find it. You can argue. There's a photo of Jade Cargill that is the lead image, and I will just let you guys have fun with that.
She's a presence. She's definite presence. Patrons and non-patrons alike. Jacob, as he mentioned, is going to be with his tag team partner Cedric Welton from We Got Next is going to be joining me on a show tomorrow. We're going to record. We'll have that out very late Monday night for all you patrons. It's free for a week. This is probably the week to do it, and because we got that. Justin, Ryan, and myself will be recording the Royal Rumble 1991 Classics episode Tuesday night, which those are always fun. Get to deep dive on just that tremendous bit of history with my favorite part of a certain person just getting cracked in the head by a scepter. Hey, if you got that to look forward to. And again, it's a week free. So give yourself that service. Please tell a friend. Ryan and Justin, again, were not able to make it today. I was not able to make it on Thursday, so it balanced itself out. We had a tremendous crew here with Ryan and Jacob. So, Kervin, we did mention this earlier that the crowd was just a little bit iffy, and part of it was because of the stadium piece. So we got that. And then Steel Crew, is that correct, Jacob?
STILLCREW.com. I think I am the featured article up there.
I believe I'm going to type that into the chat if that is correct.
Yep, that is correct.
Kaboom. Stillcrew.com. And we'll get to this last one. Jacob, close it. Do you think Jordan Grace's Rumble appearance is going to open the door for a possible cross-promotion event?
It would not shock me. It'd be a good idea to do. The only thing that is stopping it is TNA's relationship with New Japan. It's one of those, hey, guys, we're going to go do this with WWE. And New Japan's like, hey, we're in bed with AEW, right? And those two are competitors. It's Coke versus Pepsi, but they're still competitors. So I think that might be the only thing stopping it, because TNA does do Multiverse United with New Japan around Mania season. But it wouldn't be a bad idea. I would love it. You got a lot of former WWE talent over there. You have a lot of people that WWE was interested in at one point in time and wanted, such as Moose, such as Jordan Grace. So wouldn't shock me if it happened.
Ryan, close that out.
Yeah, last night during the media scrum, Triple H touched on the question about Jordan Grace and maybe other people, and he made a pretty funny joke about like really hating that there's some sort of doorway out there people like to talk about. So that was if you haven't seen, that's kind of comical. So I think if it's good business, I don't see just WWE ever doing like a cross promotional branding, but I could see a few crossover people from time to time. But as far as like WWE TNA shared pay-per-view, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I agree. Last night was a great piece of business for especially Jordan Grace. She was fantastic. So everyone out there, chat, thank you very much. You guys always help. Much appreciated, especially when Ryan and Justin aren't here. But Jacob and Ryan absolutely slayed this. We had a tremendous conversation. So any other closing thoughts?
No, I just want to say thank you, Jesse, for thinking of me and letting me fill in here. And Ryan and Justin, hopefully didn't destroy the place too bad when you guys come back. And again, just honestly, just gratitude and thank you for letting me join you on this platform and have this moment.
Ryan, this is your first time on with me. Any other closing thoughts?
No, I just appreciate you guys having me. Love talking pro wrestling with people. I feel like this group is a very, very smart wrestling fan base, and you guys do a awesome job every week of delivering content and comments. So, just really appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you for being here. It was definitely appreciated. I didn't want to do this solo, so very, very thankful to have a different trio. And for Ryan Huffman and Jacob DeLawrence, my name is Jesse Velasquez. That has been episode 329 of Top Rope Nation. Check us out on Classics again on Tuesday night. Ryan, Justin, myself, and Jacob, Cedric Welton, and myself on Unplugged for free for a week. Patrons, I'm actually going to throw that up one more time. The Patreon piece. Boom. There. We got that. We got that. And with all that being said, we'll see you on the flip side.